Hi, everyone. Gino Buccola here alongside David Aragona. We're ready to preview a race on Black Friday, November the 29th out at Churchill Downs. It's the Grade 2 Miss Revere for fillies 3 years old. We'll get to take a look at a really nice one named Kio Beach and see how she will do stepping up against Graded Stakes Company. But before we do, we want to remind you about that Black Friday sale right now. Take advantage of the coupon code BF2024. It'll get you 20% off when you head to shop.drf.com for all of your favorite daily racing form products, tools, and all of the handicapping helpers to get you ready to make some money. David and I will see if we can be your handicapping helpers for the 10th on Friday out at Churchill Downs. It's the Miss Revere, David, and as we look at the field, I'm interested to see how good Kio Beach really is. She's been impressive visually in her last 2 starts for Wesley Ward. She's earned really big speed figures, and she's done it in impressive fashion. She hasn't really been tested on the front end. She's very, very fast early. So she will take a lot of money in here, but this is a better group. She's going to be facing a lot of horses who are graded stakes horses and who are really seasoned this year.
Yeah, we just talked about a stakes race on Thursday at Churchill in a different DRF preview that maybe was a little weak for the level. Not the case for this grade 2 for the 3-year-old fillies. It is stacked with talent. It does feel like Kio Beach has to be a clear-cut favorite. She's 3-1 on the morning line. I won't be surprised when she goes lower than that because bettors typically love horses like this coming out blowout victories with fast speed figures.
Wesley Ward, Frankie Dettori, part of the connections, popular connections. Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. I'm not shocked to see her out front. It just will come down to how fast does she go early on. She has not gone the mile in a 16th. We've seen her win at 7 furlongs, then a mile, so she'll have to stretch it a little bit farther in here, face much, much tougher company. And while I don't think anyone is as fast as her, there are a couple who have some speed that they can use as a weapon and could definitely make her work harder than she's had to work before.
Yeah, there are horses that want to be forward in this race. The number 4, Pharaoh's Wine, was the pace setter last time in the Valley View when they had some intentions to go to the front. And the number 11, Maxi Superfly, is a horse that used to have a lot of early speed on the synthetic. And I think it's an interesting jockey switch back to a rider that rode her to the front end when he was last aboard her in Abel Cedillo. So maybe there'll be some more intention to go forward with her. And even Poolside with Slim, who's shown a little further back from that outside post, I think John Velasquez kind of has to show some aggression to get over.
I'm trying to will Florence Giroux to get Pounce back into that forwardly placed positioning with Pounce used to show earlier on in the career. We'll get to that one in just a moment. But let's meet the field for the grade 2 Miss Revere. Let's start on the inside. Dancing in Dixie, the number 1. This is a horse who got pretty good earlier in the year. And as a trip player, as someone who watches a lot of replays, she had a few trips where you would want to play her back off of her trip the next time. She kind of finally put it all together in the Tepin back in June, and then she was 3rd in the grade 2 Saratoga Oaks. Last couple of races, maybe a little bit disappointing. Probably didn't shape up all that well for her, though, there. What do you think about Dancing in Dixie in this spot? She's going to be back to like a really playable price.
Yeah, it kind of shows you how tough this race is that a horse like her is listed at 20-1 on the morning line because she is really good, as you just laid out. Winning that Tepin Stakes just 4 starts back, beating a couple of horses simply in front, as well as Poolside with Slim, who could be among the shorter prices in a race like this. So since then, I think she's been in some of the wrong spots. I didn't really get why they decided to stretch her out to distances beyond a mile and a quarter like they did in the Dueling Grounds Oaks 2 back. That was just too far for her, and there was no pace in the Saratoga Oaks. She cut back to the mile last time in the Valley View, and the pace of that race just never really developed. It was dominated toward the front end. I did think that she was deceptively running on to the finish that day, even though she only got up to 8th by the end. She's drawn well inside. There's supposed to be a little bit of pace in here, and I think she's going to rebound with a better effort. We'll see if it's good enough.
David, I'm hoping you can help me out with the number 2, Buccola, because this is a multiple graded stakes winner who is going to get some class relief. I mean, if you look at who she's faced in her last 3 races, she feels pretty absolutely freaked when she won the QE2 Cup. She's behind a horse named Ice Cream You Scream, who is 4 for 5 and very, very good at about a mile and an eighth. And then a couple starts back, Cinderella's Dream came back to be the runner-up in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare turf. If we're talking about any of those fillies in this spot, they would be really, really tough in here. But I still don't know if she's progressed. You know, she was behind some of those nice horses. Has she really taken the steps forward? Or are we going to look at those running lines and maybe upgrade her a little bit? I'm kind of hemming and hawing back and forth with Buccola. What do you think about her in this spot?
Yeah, I'm afraid the development might be an issue with her because she showed so much talent early on, not just during her 2-year-old season, but even that first start and her return as a 3-year-old in the Appalachian, but just hasn't really improved at all since then. And it's a pattern I think we've started to see emerge with the progeny of Justify that can be so precocious, but sometimes you don't see that development as they get older later into their careers, although it is early on in his stud career. I just wanted to see more of a closing kick in her last few starts. I know they came against tougher company, but I thought she got pretty good trips in those races, especially last time in the QE2, just never really picked it up. I think she's got to do better.
The horse to catch and to beat in here is Kio Beach. She's going to make the third start of her form cycle, so that'll be a major positive. She has 3 turf races. She lost by a head and then 2 easy wins on the front end. And she has legitimate sub 22 sprint speed that she showed when she used to be racing at shorter distances. So she's very quick. I think she has 2 Beyer speed figures faster than anyone in this race, but she's never really been tested, David. I mean, this is probably going to be 6 or 7 horses better than maybe any one that she's faced recently in circumstances like this going along on the turf.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to criticize a horse for winning by 8 and 5 lengths on the turf. You just don't usually see margins like that on the grass, where fields are much more competitive as they come onto the finish line. But you could see here, she is just demolishing this group. And you're right, there's not a whole lot of quality behind her this day. They're under a bell of rights is okay, but nobody would confuse her for a contender in a race like this. But you have to like the way Kio Beach is finishing. It seems like they figured out how to get her to settle in the middle of her races, because early on, she really did have that sprinter mindset. And you can even see when she breaks from the gate, she still has that mentality to want to run off, but it's kind of incumbent on the jockey to get her to shut down and basically ration her speed through the middle portions of a race. I thought Frankie Dettori did it well last time. Can she get the extra 16th of a mile against a better field with more pressure? I've got some questions at a short price, but no doubt she's talented.
And as a racing fan, we love seeing races like this where you have a good horse who's up and coming have to face a big field. So if she wins this race, she's definitely going to have earned it. And that's what we want to see as fans, and hopefully a horse to maybe play against if you're a gambler looking for some value in this one. Pharaoh's Wine, multiple graded stakes placed, was the runner-up in the Valley View last time out. That was actually a career best effort, David, for her. But her 2 wins have come on the front end, sitting pretty close and getting kind of soft front end trips. And I just can't see her getting that kind of a trip in here with a horse like Kio Beach next to her.
Yeah, she sort of fell into that right trip last time when it looked for a brief second like poolside, but Slim was going to go. Then her jockey took her back to sit in the pocket, and Pharaoh's Wine kind of wound up on the lead. And she's proven that she's very dangerous when she's able to be free running by herself up front, as she was when she got the victory 3 back at Ellis Park. And last time, I think we saw the best version of her when she was able to hold on for second. But like I was saying with Dancing and Dixie, that was a very forwardly dominated race, and I think her trip helped her achieve that result. I think she'll have a tougher time replicating it here.
Chill, the next one up, number 5, has only been on the turf 1 time, was 4th that day, just missed 3rd, was making up some ground late. But in a race like this, he's just spotting the rest of this field. So much turf experience. Do you give Chilled a shot in here?
Yeah, her one turf race just frankly doesn't do a whole lot for me. I didn't think it was the toughest field at Kentucky Downs, and she subsequently improved going back to the dirt. Just seems like an odd spot for a horse that might not be good enough even on her preferred surface.
Grade 3 winner Pin Up Betty is the next one. She's versatile. You can probably put a line through the race at Kentucky a couple starts back and say that was a little too far for her. Most recently, she's behind She Feels Pretty. She finished 4th. So a wall of horses that were in that second spot that were well behind She Feels Pretty. So while she was 4th, she was not far out of second that day. And I thought overall her form with this group fits pretty well. I like the fact that she can sit mid-pack. I like the fact that she can show a little bit of speed. She probably won't be close in a field like this where they'll be going a lot quicker early on, but I thought she measures up pretty well with this group. What do you think about Pin Up Betty?
Yeah, I think she's a contender in this race. She's just got form against tough company that I think translates very well to this spot. Unlike some others who have run some big speed figures, she's already proven it against horses like this. So I think you've got that faith that she's not only going to run well, but also, as you said, work out the right trip, because she's got the versatile running style, good tactical speed. I thought she got a very good trip last time in the QE2, but that was just too tough of a spot. I mean, She Feels Pretty. There were no match for that horse, and she was right there in the battle for second. So I won't be surprised when she runs well again.
Yeah, she ran a career best speed figure that day, even in finishing fourth. And like you said, just a little bit overmatched in that group. The number 7, Minushka, will be making her second U.S. start. She is grade 3 placed. She was visually really impressive in that win at Keeneland. She was a step slow, but immediately got over to the rail. Like that was the plan, to just save ground. She was last of 11, 8 off, stayed inside basically all the way around, traveling well, and exploded when she got some room. It was pretty impressive, David.
Yeah, I think the trouble line that you see in the form is a little over exaggerated. I wouldn't
Agree.
say she was blocked in upper stretch. I thought it was
No.
an absolutely perfect run through. She was traveling in hand, just waiting to go. And once Tyler pushed the button, the Red Seas opened for her and she came right on through. But you could see she's finishing this race with a lot of energy left. My problem is that you look at the PPs of Smooth Waves and Do Gooder, who were second and third, and I mean, they'd be 100 to 1 in this spot. They're just
Yeah.
not horses that are of this quality. And even going back to some of her European form, she wasn't necessarily facing the best over there. And when she did in the 1,000 Guineas, she wasn't really a match for those horses. She was well beaten by Leray when they met at Longchamp back in June. And that horse has proven to be a good one. She came over here and won a stakes, but was off the board in the Valley View. So I think she's going to take money off that visually impressive score last time, but I want to see her do it against some tougher company.
Neon Icon will try turf for the first time. So again, a tough spot where you have some seasoned horses who have been doing good work facing graded stakes company on the turf, and she'll try it for the first time.
Yeah, she is cross-entered in the Fall City on Thursday. Feels like that dirt race might be a better spot for her. Arrogate doesn't have particularly good stats with his turf runners. She's got a little turf pedigree on the dam side, but she would have to take a step forward getting to the grass to contend with this field.
And if you want to hear more about that Fall City on Thursday, David and I also previewed that race right here on the YouTube channel. So you can find that one for Thursday, where we go horse by horse through that field. The number 9, Pounce, has a very good A game. She's a multiple graded stakes winner, but she's a little bit of an enigma. Sometimes she just shows up and doesn't really throw in a good effort. I think we can look at her last 2 races, though. I'm going to be forgiving for them, David, because one of them was in that QE2 Cup that we pointed out, where I think she feels pretty freaked. I think mile and an eighth is probably a little farther than Pounce wants to go anyways. And after showing a little bit of early positional speed, she was wide and she just packed it in. 2 starts back, she's in the Music City at Kentucky going 6.5 furlongs. She's down on the inside and she just never really has much of an opportunity to run. She gets shuffled back. She's in some trouble. I'm hoping from the outside that the plan will be to just try to get her closer to the front end in here, because naturally I'd love to see her sitting maybe third, stay within striking range of a horse like Kio Beach, because she can finish and she has one of the higher ceilings when the trip puts her in a nice spot. So I'm going to give her a little bit of a shot in here, David, Pounce, because she'll be very playable and a big price coming off of those muddied up running lines. What do you think about Pounce's opportunity or her chances in here?
Yeah, I don't disagree on her high ceiling and talent. She just seems like a very tricky horse to ride because she's got this really short burst of speed and you have to use it judiciously because, I mean, whether she's on the front end setting the pace and she spurts away from a field at the top of the stretch like she did in that victory at Gulfstream back in February, or she's coming from last and swoops past the whole field, you just kind of have to keep her held together and not really fight her, but allow her to travel at her own pace before asking her for that run. And if she gets the trip that works for her, she will deliver that run, but sometimes it just doesn't work out. Like you mentioned last time in the QE2, I mean, she was 3 to 4 wide with no cover. That's the kind of trip that is never going to work for a horse like this. She's dropping back to the right kind of level here. And if the trip works out, I think she could be dangerous. I just have a little trouble trusting her that in this large field, she's going to be able to work out the trip that works for her.
The number 10, Simply in Front, is a grade 2 winner. I was actually pretty impressed with that effort in the Valley View last time out, David, because she got one of those wider trips that we were sort of talking about right there, where she was hooked 3 deep early. She kind of moved all the way up to second at the top of the lane. And when it felt like the time was right for her to just get tired and back up, she really did keep trying. And she ends up losing to Poolside with Slim, who got a much more beneficial trip. Poolside with Slim was tracking inside fourth, was just waiting for room, stayed inside, and then got that inside opening. So comparing 2 horses that come out of the same race and might be different prices, I was a little more impressed with Simply in Front, who finished fourth there, just because the trip really wasn't favorable for her overall. What do you think about this one's body of work and how she fits with this group?
Yeah, we've got four horses in this field coming out of that Valley View, and I agree. I think she's one of the ones that you want. I mean, I already made the case for Dancing and Dixie, who was against the race flow, but Simply in Front, as you said, she was wide around both turns, breaking from an outside post position. That was a difficult trip for her. She also got a difficult trip too back when she won the Music City.
Yeah.
Somehow got the job done anyway. She got left at the start that day, was five wide all the way around the far turn, and still was able to beat that field. Seemed like the bettors knew because they bet her from 19-1 down to 6-1 in the very last flash before the gates opened. That does seem to happen quite often with horses like this, but Simply in Front, she just seems to be in great form right now. She's doing it without ideal trips. I don't know. She's 15-1 on the morning line. I viewed her as one of the top contenders in this race.
Max's Superfly is a stakes winner on the synthetic, but hasn't hit the board in 4 starts on the turf. And just to kind of give you an example, she faced Kio Beach last time out. She was 49-1 in that race, and she was just never closer than I think 7 or 8 lengths within Kio Beach. Do you give Max's Superfly any shot in here?
I've just been sort of befuddled by the rides that she's gotten recently because she used to have a lot of early speed.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned that Abel Cedillo, who's on her here, was the last one that I actually asked her for speed, going actually a pretty quick pace in the Edgewood, and she ran well that day. I mean, she was right there at the end in a photo with Dancing and Dixie at a big price, so she proved that she can run on the turf. Since then, her 3 turf races, she's just been taken off the pace or hasn't been able to get forward or stuck out wide. I mean, Florent Giroux last time, you could see he came out of the gate like he was trying to get back to last. It was a weird tactical decision. I would imagine putting Abel Cedillo back aboard, the connections are thinking, well, maybe this jock is one that will actually send her to the front. I don't think she's fast enough to get in front of Kio Beach, but I won't be surprised if she runs a little better than she has in her recent starts.
Poolside Slim rounds out the field. Grade 2 winner last time out in the Valley View. I'm always like a little trepidatious with horses like this who get a ground saving inside trip and then the next time they're hooked way out wide, because you just can't project that they might get the same exact trip that worked so well for them last time. And I'll hand it off to you, David, because otherwise I'm going to start doing my Eminem rapping Poolside with Slim in just a moment. What do you think about this one, third start of the form cycle?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to be too hard on her because she obviously is in very good form right now, but I tend to agree with what you're suggesting that she might be the wrong horse to take in here because she's coming off such a perfect trip. And she is a horse that has kind of made good trips for herself in a few starts because she's got that tactical speed, but she doesn't need to be in front. So she can get that ground saving journey like she did last time, sneaking up the inside. Now she's drawn out in post 12. To me, she is a pure miler that's trying to get the mile and a 16th, potentially having to run further than a mile and a 16th by losing ground around both turns with a jockey aboard that isn't always looking to get to the rail in turf races. So I just wonder if the trip's going to work out for her this time.
I thought this was a really fun race to handicap as we move to the selections here, because you're going to have that one strong favorite who's going to take a lot of money, who will step up though, and you have some major concerns about her. You really have to see her answer some questions here. So you and I will both have Kio Beach in the mix underneath, but we're going price shopping here, David. We're looking for some value. People will be out shopping on Black Friday. You and I are shopping for prices here. Talk to us a little bit more about Dancing and Dixie.
Yeah, I've got Kio Beach a little further down in my picks than you do. I forgot to mention one thing I noted about her when I was looking up some stats in Formulator. Wesley Ward, 0 for 17 in turf route graded stakes races over 5 years, and plenty of short prices in that sample. So something to keep in mind for her. I downgraded her a little bit. I wanted prices in this race, as you were saying. The number 1, Dancing and Dixie, I think her form's a little dirtied up. I think she's going to get some pace in this race, and hopefully going this shorter distance in a spot like this, it's going to work for her getting back to Churchill Downs. I also was considering Simply in Front, but I think between these two, Dancing and Dixie is the one that's likely to hold up closer to the morning line, where I think Simply in Front could take more money than that 15-1 line.
Challenging race for us handicappers. Whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck on Friday over at Churchill Downs.
Hey buddy, you look like you're in need of a winner, and just remember, if you like and subscribe right over here, you can get all of the great content on DRF.com, including Race of the Day, stakes previews, and lots more, featuring me and my superb selections. Trust me, you're not going to regret it.